Hello friends, welcome to this video session on Bama's Karaku, the explanations of the chapter 6. This is the continuation of my discussion made in earlier videos on chapter 6 of Karaku, the autobiography of Bama. This is part of the discussion of the paper Compulsory Foundation Course in English at Mangalore University for the course English Language 4th semester BSc and BCA. Welcome to this video. So in the last video we came to know something about Bama's school life and then her college life, the difficulties and challenges she faced in going ahead in her way to success. So now after the completion of studies, her workplace, her life at the workplace is presented in this part of the video, this part of the chapter 6th. So we see she completed her B.Ed and of course we came to know that she was able to make good performance in her studies, and then she entered the workplace. Started working. She was searching for job and she started to work. Life became little comfortable because the work naturally provided some kind of earning, earning money, brought some independence also. And because she was independent, because there was a support of money, she was in fact indeed happy and had pleasure in life. This we can see she could act and buy what she wanted. See, there is a message here, dear students, to all, that earning or self-reliance in life would support some kind of independence, some kind of happiness, some kind of choice, and some kind of life of flexibility in life. So it's a kind of escape from all the problems and sufferings or whatever the challenges we have in life. Therefore, moreover, this line is important because we can act and think and buy whatever we wanted. That is possible with our own earning. That happened here to Bama. She realized that money could gain some authority. Yeah, of course. We can see one economist defining money as money is something what it does, right? He defines that as money is what it does. You cannot say what it does because it has plenty of it does a lot of things. Therefore, in that sense, I think money would give some kind of authority, status, prestige, independence, and all that, right? That you can see in Bama's life too. The people with cash have they can spend and live in comfortably. Here also you find a kind of contrast between the people with money and without money. With money, those who have money with them, they can spend it whatever for the whatever reasons they want, and they can choose comfort out of that. They live comfortably, therefore. So this is the extremity in society. Haves in the society live comfortable with money, have nots in the society live in distress without money. That's the difference Mama is trying to present, contrasting the people with money and with people without money. I mean, what we say in the Marxian context, haves and have not. Marx defines history as the struggle between haves and have not. You can see the life is also sometimes like that. It has two extremities, as someone who have everything, the people who have some everything and people who do not have anything. So that's the contrast we see in society. Bama brings in that contrast in this part of the chapter. She says our people, the people of her community, are Dalits in India. They toil and work hard all the time, but they never have the cash to buy whatever they have. Because though they work hard, they do not get the sufficient wage according to Bama. That's the argument she puts forth. They live like a post, they live like posts herd, eating gruel every time. They don't have any money to have even rich food. They eat only gruel, right? Gruel. That too, you see that half broken rice or something, right? That kind of grill that they were eating, and wearing nothing more than rags. They had only rags to clothe, rags or torn clothes to cover their body. That was the condition. That is the condition, true, right? They own neither property nor land nor even a decent house to live in. That's how she represent the voice of the people of her community, Dalits in India, that they live like this. Is there any solution like this? That's what the thing she's trying to put forth through this novel. That's why this novel is a landmark in Dalit literature, because it's voicing the people of her community, Dalits in India, and demanding why this social situation, social inequality is meted out to them. So in such conditions, they work for the good of the rich. That's the way she slightly hint here, that even in such a bad social condition, they work for the rich. They dedicate themselves for the rich. They don't think anything other than that. That is what she is trying to place here. Bama questions here, how can they hope for luxuries when they cannot even afford to moderate comfort, right? They are not assured of even minimum comfort in their life. How can they even think of luxuries in life? They can't even dream of luxuries in life. The author finds here that the education and finding a job would make them live comfortably, reasonably well. She questions, but how can they get educated when they struggle to fill their bellies? Right? That is a question pertinent here. When they have struggled every day to find food, can we expect them to live comfortably? It's very difficult thing to achieve in their life. It is indeed true, when we cannot assure basic necessities of life, can we think of higher dreams or great achievements in such a context? Difficult to do that. That's what the question Bama is raising at this point. Then Bama says here that this line of thought led Bama to desire to do one important thing, that is to become a nun and serve these people. She entered a convent with that hope. She worked hard for the children who are struggling as she had done. She wanted to work for them. She wanted to work and help those people who are struggling like her. And she developed the desire to help other children who are living, who are living like the way she lived, and wanted to contribute something to better their life, to teach them, to enlighten them, to give them some good social condition. After entering the convent order, there she understood that it did not even, they did not even care to glance at such children. The convent order does not support the progress or support the, emancipation, right? Or rather, I can uplifting of the people in distress, the children who are living in such poor condition. That's what the criticism she starts here against the convent system, where everything was pretense. So instead, what convent was doing was, they wished to serve the children of the wealthy people, and it has treated the poor and the rich children differently. There was difference in the treatment of them also. The poor were seen with indifference. People, they became before they became nuns, Bama says those women take a vow. They take a vow that they will live in poverty. The author considers it as a sham, as they did not know the meaning of poverty. That's why it's a sham. Sham means a pretense, ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಫೇಕ್. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಪಾವರ್ಟಿ ಅನ್ನೋ ಅರ್ಥವೇ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ದೇ ಟೇಕ್ ಓ, ರೈಟ್, ಒಂದು ಓ ಅನ್ನು ತಗೊಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಒಂದು ಪ್ರತಿಜ್ಞೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ದಟ್ ದೇ ಸರ್ವ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಪುವರ್. ಬಟ್ ದೇ ಡು ನಾಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ದಟ್ ಪಾವರ್ಟಿ. ದೇ ದೆಮ್ಸೆಲ್ವ್ ಡು ನಾಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್, and they don't even understand the poverty of others. That's what Bama's argument here. She presents that with some examples here. At the convent, they were served all kinds of foods, right, variety of food, including abundant fruit and various vegetables. Then can we say that they live simple life, or they can they experience poverty here? It gave them a comfortable room with all facilities. That's what the argument from Bama. Did not have to think or catch a bus, as the school was so close to the convent, and they were given tea and snacks from time to time, right? So this was the comfortable life they had. There was school was very nearer to the convent. Therefore there was no necessity of even going through the bus, and food was, snacks, tea were provided time to time. Thus government offered a very comfortable place for people living in that premises, and Bama therefore felt ashamed about the renunciation they made. What's a renunciation? Renunciation means leaving everything, right? ತ್ಯಾಗವನ್ನು ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು, ನಿರ್ಮಾಣವನ್ನು ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು. Is there any renunciation here when they live with all comfort? Are they really working for the poor? That's the question Bama puts forth in this part. Then the school was full of children from wealthy families. That's what another thing she adds to support that the convent did not work for poor. And also she says nuns adjusted their attitude to them. They They worked for safeguarding the interest of the wealthy people. They worked for that. Therefore, they adjusted their attitude to them. Watching this, Bama became frustrated. She became frustrated and disturbed at her workplace. So her workplace was also not a happy place. Therefore, at the end, it also turned out to be a challenge for her life, because she was disturbed more and more by seeing all these things. With her good intention had no room there. That was the conflict she was facing in her mind. Then she says, my conscience was battered and bruised. Yeah, her conscience, you see, conscience alike, oh, conscience, the pronunciation, C-O-N-S-S-C-I-E-N-C, science comes there, but pronunciation is conscience, was battered and bruised, right? It was under a kind of, a lot of disturbance, right? So it was totally torn, right? There was no possibility of living happily at the convent, at the workplace also. Therefore, at last she left the convent and went home, utterly wearily, right? She felt weary of all these things. She got dispirited, right? Disappointed. Then she went home at the end, seeing all these things. Thus, this part of the chapter presents Bama's experience at her workplace, and we see she chose the position of a nun with a good intention of serving the people living like her, the children who are leaving the children the way she had, the childhood she had, and she wanted to be a nun for that purpose, to serve them and support them. But convent was not a place to do that. She couldn't find the proper solution in the convent. Thus, her observations of that bitter truth at the church, the sham and the pretense at the church, led her to a rational decision to quit the position and find a different route in her life. Finally, she quit that role of a nun at the church and went home. That's the end of the part here. So anyhow, we will see what is the progress ahead in the chapter 6 in the next video. Thank you. See you in the next video.